My name is Cy Cantwell. I'm with Star News Media. I'll serve as your moderator. And this is Visions and Views 2011, a political forum. The rules are simple. After a 3-minute opening statement, I will ask each candidate the same question with 2 minutes to respond. Each round will begin with the next candidate alphabetically. If time permits, audience questions will be allowed. If you have any questions, please provide them to the chamber staff in written form. Cynthia, Gail, and Greg will be circulating around. So just get one of their attention with the chamber, and they can even bring a piece of paper if you need one to write it down. Please make questions pertinent to town issues, not personal issues. Direct comments from the audience are discouraged, and inappropriate behavior could result in being asked to leave. The candidates here tonight, David Cole sent word that he couldn't make it. He regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. Our Teresa Clont, who will raise a hand. Gary Deach, Sarah Freedy, and Steve Shuttleworth. All right, we'll start with opening statements. Oh, by the way, I'm going to do this myself, and I urge everybody else, either turn your cell phones on vibrate or turn them off. We don't want to bunch up a circus for it. I forgot to do it myself. Let's start with opening comments from each of the candidates, and we'll start with Ms. Clont. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Teresa Clont, and I'm running for town council. I have been an Island resident for over 30 years. I'm a homeowner, a business owner, and a taxpayer. I'm also a concerned citizen who can no longer sit back while our local government continues to make poor decisions with my tax money. The combined money spent for the purchase of 1710 Carolina Beach Avenue North and the Aquarium Pier project could go a long way toward repairing our crumbling infrastructure, inlet dredging, and beach renourishment, and other important issues facing our community. So today I ask you, citizens of Carolina Beach, when you go to the polls on November 8th, ask yourself, how do you want your tax dollars spent? Thank you.
Mr. Deach.
Good evening. My name is Gary Deach. I have served on the Town Council of Carolina Beach for 8 years, from 1997 to 2005. I served on the Rowan MPO and the Transportation Advisory Committee for 5.5 years. I served on the Portsmouth Way and Beach Committee for a year and a half, and I've also served on four years on the Beach Community Group. Some of the accomplishments through the 8 years that I did serve, we lowered town's operating costs, lowered legal expenses, kept taxes low, funded our capital improvement plan, worked to get the Marriott that you're sitting in tonight here, made upgrades to our town hall, police station, fire department, did the Lake Park project, which offers you a nice park to walk in today. We worked for a better working relationship with the Hanover County Commissioners and other governmental agencies, both locally and at the state and federal level. We completed upgrades to the wastewater treatment facility. And if you want sound policies based on studies and facts, and you want people who you can trust on council to be very diligent with your tax dollars, I hope you will support me. My name again is Gary Deach. Thank y'all for coming, and have a good evening.
Ms. Freedy.
Thank you, Mr. Cantwell. I'm going to stand up because I feel a little bit less short and I can't see the people in the audience past the first row. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting tonight's forum. I'd also like to thank my children who are in the back for their support, all the friends who have helped me with my campaign, and I'd especially like to thank my fellow candidates and the city members of council, all of whom have been very gracious and collegial through this race so far. And it's been a very interesting trip. I think the next few weeks will continue to be interesting. I am Sarah Freedy. I am running for town council because I love this town and I believe in this town. I believe I have the experience and the training necessary to help us figure out what works and keep it and make it better. And I have the experience and training and background necessary to figure out what isn't working and to either fix it or get rid of it and find something else that will work for us. I've heard it said that government should be run like a business, but that's only true if you have a constituency or client base customer service that you're offering. We're more like a captive audience. So I kind of think of it like a family. In a family, all of the children need to be equal, and we have a vast array of interests here that need to be considered. We have year-round residents, part-time residents, we have tourists, and we have the business community. We can't have one of them being the favorite child and the rest of them feeling like the red-headed stepchild. Fair doesn't always mean even, but in the end, it needs to balance out. And I think that it's important to have someone on council who can look at all of the interests of the community and not just one. We've also heard recently a lot of people questioning some of the ethics and some of the decisions that have been made by our council members, regardless of the outcome of what we find out. When people start to wonder whether people are getting something out of the decisions that they're making, people have lost their faith in government. You can make all the lawyer jokes you want. I'm a lawyer. At the end of the day, I could lose my law license if my practice benefits from a decision that I would make as an elected official. So if you elect me, you may not like all the decisions that I make, but you would know, there would be no question that I would not get anything out of it. Absolutely not. You would never have to wonder that about me. I also think it's important for us, as we're looking at infrastructure, that everybody's talking about it, and it's a crucial issue. We need to look at it from a fresh perspective. And that perspective needs to be, what decisions can we make that are going to keep our island vibrant and sustainable? Not just next year, not Band-Aid solutions, but 20 years, 30 years, 50 years down the road. Is this going to be the kind of town that my children want to come back to when they have grown up and seen what else there is out there? We need to look at the best ways that we can preserve our environment. We can do that. We have to do that because we depend on the ocean and our waterways for our livelihood. Thank you.
Mr. Shuttleworth.
Good evening. My name is Steve Shuttleworth. I'm running for the Town Council. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Pleasure Island Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Thank you, Campbell, for moderating the other Town Council candidates appearing tonight. But I'd like to thank the people in the audience for taking the time to come out tonight and hear about the visions and issues that are important to all of us as a community and as candidates. I'm a father of 5. 3 of them go to Carolina Beach Elementary. I'm a husband. I'm a self-employed business person. I've been in the real estate industry for 30 years. I've been on the island for 7 years. I own my own home. I've been active in local issues for the past 3 or 4 years. I've attended 20+ council meetings. As a private citizen here, I've been educated about the issues over the past several years. I've attended the last 2 years' worth of county budget meetings, understand the budget process. I've voiced concerns at those meetings over issues that the town has chosen to take. My visions and views for the community would be to focus on conservative fiscal policy, not to spend more than we budgeted for, quit depleting our reserves, focus on water, sewer, stormwater, police and fire, and from there to have a community discussion about the amenities we may choose to partake in this community. I believe I have the leadership experience and integrity to serve on the council, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much. Very good.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the questions. The first question will come first to Mr. Deach, and it is, in your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing Carolina Beach, and how do you plan to address it?
Well, I believe probably the biggest issue facing Carolina Beach right now is the simple fact that we do have a crumbling infrastructure when it comes to wastewater collection. That will also inhibit our growth, our ability to grow, and the growth that takes place in Carolina Beach. So, even though that's not a very popular subject, and that's one that very few people even see happening, but I think that's something that we need to make sure is good as we can make it. One of the other issues would be beach renourishment and inlet dredging, and I would like to see us combine both of those projects together to have a simple resolution to 2 problems.
Ms. Freedy, what's the biggest issue facing Carolina Beach, and how do you plan to address it?
I think there are 2 big issues right now. One is short-term and one is long-term. Short-term biggest issue that's on everybody's mind is what to do with the pier property. I think that whatever council is elected needs to go in and really roll up their sleeves and get to work on that immediately. Take some homework assignments and not just leave it all to the town manager. We need to be as creative and as quickly creative as we can be to figure out what to do with that property so it can be productive for the town. Long term, I agree with Gary, our infrastructure is a huge problem. We have taxed our water and sewer systems to the point where they're starting to crumble. Everybody you talk to has some sort of issue with their water. They have iron in their water or it has a funky smell. We need to take care of that. And infrastructure is obviously more than just water and sewer, but we are close to drawing the capacity on our wells, close to drawing salt water into our aquifers, and that is a huge issue that needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. We need to, again, consider all the alternatives and try to find sustainable choices for the town so that we don't have to address this problem again in 10 years.
Mr. Shuttleworth, the biggest issue facing Carolina Beach, how would you plan to address it?
I believe the single biggest issue facing Carolina Beach is to continue to live within our budget we have every year. That alone affects every one of the issues you've heard about. Water, sewer, stormwater, how to fund beach renourishment, how to handle future dredge obligations. If we don't have the money in the budget or we've completed our reserves, we will not be able to handle those. We've been on a capital replacement project for the water system, the water wells, the water storage tanks. Yes, we need to step that up. There has been a plan in place. However, we've been funding that by taking money out of reserves. We've been using additional money to purchase property that we don't need. The pier property is something, even last week at council, the good news is they're finally starting to see the light, in my opinion, and looking at alternatives, which may include selling portions of the property or all the property. So again, I think the single biggest issue is learning to maintain a budget and live within that budget.
And Ms. Cloms, what's the biggest issue facing Carolina Beach? How do you plan to address it?
I agree with all three of the other candidates. As you can tell, we have several issues facing Carolina Beach right now that are very, very important. And it's really hard to choose which of these items is the most important. I guess if we start with council, having a council and a mayor that work together and address these issues rather than looking at adding more monkeys on our back. I agree with Sarah. Short-term issue is getting rid of that pier property. Right now, the taxpayers are taking care of, we're paying for that out of our tax dollars, and that's huge. That affects our budget and money in the budget that can go towards the infrastructure or the other necessary items that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, the next question will come first to Ms. Freedy. Many of the candidates have said that an issue they see as important is to strengthen and create programs for senior citizens and the youth of Carolina Beach. However, there's no talk of programs for improving the quality of life for the roughly 60% of residents that are in between. So what do you propose to do for the taxpayers who are between 18 and 64 years old?
Well, since I do fall, I won't say exactly where in that bracket I fall. The 60% who fall between 18 and 64 are obviously we're of working age, probably can't count on Social Security being here, so we need to look long-term not only at our own incomes and whether we can sustain our households now in this economy, but also whether we're going to be able to continue to live here when we retire. What will the tax rates be at that point? What kind of infrastructure will we have at that point? So what we need to do now for that is a vast array of age groups. We need to make sure that our tax rates and our infrastructure are in place so that people can sustain a livelihood here. If the economy doesn't get better in the next 5 or 10 years, if there's no Social Security in 5 or 10 years, we can't have a plan in place that's going to tax people, assuming that they'll have Social Security benefits, when in fact they may not. The people who are at the older age of that age range that Mr. Campbell gave certainly can count on Social Security for a few years, but those of us who are in the middle or at the lower end cannot. So we need to get spending under control so we're not taxing our citizens to death.
Mr. Shuttleworth, what do you propose to do for taxpayers who are between 18 and 64 years of age?
Well, I'm glad I didn't fall out of the middle of that age bracket. However, Ms. Campbell, I would have to suggest to you that some of the things that are good for the kids and good for the elderly might be good for that age group as well. I would like to continue to see some of the park improvements that the council has moved forward on. We had a wonderful year this past year, improving the soccer and baseball fields. They've recently done the basketball fields, outdoor basketball for the rec center. I'm an advocate to see if we can implement some of the bike trail system that has been talked about. That's something that active adults like to do. I've been very encouraged over the last number of years by some of the new businesses and the resurgence of some of the existing businesses on the island that many of us in that age bracket frequent. That's whether it's Squiggly's, if I like their ice cream, or the new Carolina Beach ice creamery, if I'm north end of the island there, I enjoy their ice cream as well. I would like to see it continue to enhance the boardwalk improvements that have been made. It's been an event almost every night this summer. I enjoy those events. The farmers market's been a tremendous addition. Also, the work that the Playground and Chamber of Commerce does. We just celebrated Seafood Jazz and Blues Festival, or Blues and Jazz Festival. It was a tremendous event. They have Friday night music every other Friday. To continue to be able to do those things in a positive way is what this island needs to do to service our center of the spectrum.
Ms. Klein, what would you propose to do for taxpayers who are between 18 and 64?
I think we're all very fortunate to live in this community because it affords us an outside active lifestyle. From the young to the very old, we have walking parks around the lake, which are beautiful. We have a state park, which is a wonderful asset to the community. I would, however, like to see the bike path continue in a more positive, safer direction to get us from one end of the island to the other end of the island. That's something that a lot of people in our area do enjoy. I would also like to work with a business group trying to bring business into the community, working for a movie theater, a bowling alley. Land cost is finally affordable. The price is going back down a little bit to encourage new businesses to come into our community. And I would like to see something that would offer some rainy day activities. Thank you.
Mr. Deans.
Well, you kind of bracketed it for most of the people here, but actually, I think any decision we need to make on council needs to be for everyone, regardless of whether they're voting age or are voters, I'm sorry. For me, it would be to maintain our community in a healthy environment so that we can continue to grow, and also to increase the town revenues. I've seen a lot of decisions made probably in the last 3 or 4 years that have decreased revenues, and when you decrease revenues, that money's got to come from somewhere. So generally, it's either pulled out of different areas of the government or where taxes go up. So I'd like to do that, and mainly to keep taxes affordable for everyone here on the beach. And so that would be my promise to you.
Next question comes first from Mr. Shuttleworth. To assure a smooth transition into office, knowledge of the current workings and issues of the council is imperative. How many of the council meetings have you attended in the past 2 years, and how many times have you personally addressed issues being presented?
I've attended probably at least 20 meetings over the last 2 years of town council, town budget meeting, went to the budget workshops. For the last 2 years, addressed at both the council meetings and the budget meetings, and voiced opposition to the acquisition of Pier property, the acquisition of 1710 property. I've been to the CDP3 workshop meetings. I've been to the road diet rework recently. I was at council last week. I go to council on a regular basis. I speak on a regular basis. And when I speak, I do like to voice my sometimes objection. I think the council people will tell you that. But I also try and offer a solution. Because I think it's important, if you're going to show up and have an objection, you ought to be willing to offer a solution. And also, when council makes a decision, to try and get behind council and help come up with solutions to enact the decisions they make. Even if they're not the ones I want. On the Pier property, I went to the town manager after they voted to purchase it and suggested that they talk to the bank about restructuring the debt and getting it down from 400-some thousand to 200-some thousand. He did that. Those 2 years have come and gone, and now we're back to 400,000. So I try and offer solutions when I object to things, and I do speak regularly to council.
Ms. Klein, How many council meetings have you attended in the past 2 years? How many times have you personally addressed issues being presented?
Well, I always say that they made the government channel just for me. I've attended just about every council meeting, whether in the comfort of my home with my pajamas on, or trying to attend for town council, the regular meetings. As a realtor in the community for over 20 years, I've addressed council several times regarding development issues, and other issues that can concern the community.
Mr. Dean?
Kind of like Teresa, I have probably viewed it on TV quite a bit here lately. After deciding to run for the council again, I've attended every council meeting and budget, not budget, but the care project meetings that have gone on. Serving 8 years on the council and attending all of the county council meetings, and not only the meetings, but the workshops that were also included. I have spent a fair amount of time working with the town. Also, like I say, governmental agencies across the bridge that have been critical to the growth of Carolina Beach. And I think that's important for us to get back into. It looks like we have not pursued our bridges or our connections to both in Hanover County and Raleigh and Washington. And I would like to see us reestablish those connections. And it certainly does make a difference when you're trying to work on certain projects.
Ms. Freeman, how many council meetings have you attended in the past 2 years? How many times have you addressed issues being presented?
I can't count how many times I've attended council meetings in the last 2 years. I have attended, I think, although 1 or 2 of them this year if I had a scheduling conflict and I couldn't go. But I have read more than once every set of minutes that are available online, which go all the way back to 2009. I've read the minutes even for the meetings that I've been to, so I can go back again and see exactly what was being presented and what opinions were addressed. I haven't addressed council personally. I haven't spoken on any issues in some time, but there was a period of time a few years back where I think I was probably in front of council as much as anyone else was.
Ms. Klontz, this question comes first to you. On a follow-up, what town-appointed boards, committees, and volunteer community organizations do you currently serve on, or have you served on in the past 4 years?
In the past 4 years, well, let me see. I'm an active member of the Wilmington Regional Association of Realtors, National Association of Realtors. I've worked with the chamber the last couple of years, volunteer at Gate Safety during the fireworks. My husband is a member of the Carolina Beach Fire Department, and I am a fire gal, so I can all make sales, bring all the goodies. I've always been, the 30-some years in the community, I've always been an active volunteer.
Mr. Deach, boards, committees, and volunteer community organizations you currently serve on or have in the last 4 years?
Well, it's been 5 years since I served on council, so I pretty much have taken a break from it. So to date, I would say nothing.
Ms. Freedy?
Thank you. I have, my activities, unfortunately, the last several years have been limited somewhat by the fact that I have a very young child who just started kindergarten. Most of my extracurricular activities that were non-family related were in my professional capacity. I served on the executive board of the North Carolina Bar Association, the Real Property Section Council. I was the president of the North Carolina Land Title Association. I spent some years presenting, doing a lot of traveling for my work. But I do still participate with the North Carolina Bar Association with their community outreach events, such as Ask the Lawyer Day, when people can come to the mall and ask questions of an attorney for free. I participated in the Wills for Heroes program that they put on where we prepare wills for first responders. I have recently joined the Chamber of Commerce now that I have a business or an office here on the island. For a long time I was working in downtown Wilmington, so I didn't think that I qualified for that. But this is the time, and I have not done as much in the last 4 or 5 years as I would like, but this is part of my resurgence back into it. I was very active before I had my children.
Mr. Shuttleworth, boards, committees, and volunteer community organizations.
Other than the general community agitation and council meetings, I haven't served on any committees at the town of Carolina Beach. experience. I've served 6 years in the past on the planning commission, including as a commissioner of a community of 500,000 people. I am a member of the National Association of Realtors. I've served as the association director and president of the association of 2,500 member Realtor Association in the past. For the last several years, other than speaking my mind to council and trying to make them see a clearer picture, and not spending my money. So money.
All right, the next question will come first to Mr. Deach. What should the town do with the property purchased for the proposed NC Aquarium Pier and Ocean to Sound Access Park?
Well, I was not privy to the details of buying this property, but I will say that I really don't support the town being in the real estate business. That being said, I think what we need to do is to decide what is the correct fit. Let me go back just a minute first. We've got to decide if the state is either in or out of this venture with us. And if they're out, then I think the town and the council need to determine that this project needs to be a revenue generating project, not one that costs the town. That being said, I think what we need to do is go forward and not look back. The mistakes were made. I think it's critical for us to make the right decisions to move forward. And I do think that moving forward is the right thing.
Ms. Brady, the property purchased for the proposed NC Aquarium Pier and Ocean to Sound Access Park.
First, I'd like to make sure that I clarify. I don't want anybody, I think I sounded before like I was putting myself in an elevated position with the Bar Association, which I didn't need to do. I was speaking faster than I was thinking. I was not on the executive committee of the Bar Association itself, so I just want to clarify that. I don't want to sound like I was doing something I wasn't. I think what we need to do with pier property is aggressively consider all of the options. I think that everyone on council needs to sit down and take homework assignments, as I said before. I think somebody needs to say, let's figure out what we can possibly do with it as a park. And I'm going to go and I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month figuring out exactly how much it would cost to turn part or all of it into a park and come back to council with that kind of solid information and facts and prices. Someone else on council needs to, maybe a couple people on council need to figure out whether we could actually sell the property without much of a loss or at a profit, find out what would be involved with that, start putting some feelers out, and I know council has considered now initiating a procedure where they would seek or solicit bids for people. I think it's crucial if council is going to consider selling the property, crucial for us to not give the town away while we're selling the property. We can't sell it to someone who wants to do away with the setbacks, camera requirements, permitting requirements. We can't be so desperate to sell it that we end up short-circuiting ourselves in what we can do with it. I think part of the property could be used for parking if we use some sort of pervious parking materials. We can't obviously create any more flooding on the north end, but we could certainly have more parking. I think some sort of combination of parking and park is probably the best that we can do with it at this point, but only if that's going to generate some revenue and make it useful for the town.
Mr. Shuttleworth, what should the town do with the NC Aquarium Pier and Ocean to Sound Access Park property?
Well, first, the way I understand it, having attended the meetings prior to the acquisition, the town does not own the property. It is owned by a nonprofit called CGP3. The town set up as a holding entity so that they could then acquire some grants. The town cannot buy the property and then go seek grants. So through some special legal maneuvering, they set up a nonprofit LLC, borrowed some money from BB&T. That LLC is making the payments. The town is helping them make those payments. We receive income. There are several things we can do, and as they discussed last week at the council, I believe the city attorney, Mr. Coggins, has been approached with a potential purchase offer. I've heard from several other private entities in the community that they are actively working and have spoken to council members or town management about possibly purchasing the property or portions of the property. There were some unique and creative ideas to increase the revenue from the hotels that are on the property and splitting off a portion of the property with a commercial loan so that it could be supported or some value could be supported from the hotels that are currently on there, their revenue. We've also heard council speak about increasing those revenues by putting the hotel management out to bid rather than letting it continue on with the existing hotel group. So there are a variety of things we can do. What we can't do is stand still. And I believe we need to run on parallel courses. I went to Mr. Owen right after they voted to purchase it and suggested they start taking a grant writer to write grants. That hasn't been very successful. However, last month he did share with me a list of 16 or 20 different entities in North Carolina that make philanthropic grants. I suggested to him, why don't you go to the elementary school and get all the kids to write a letter to Duke Alumni Association, since they're sitting on a lot of money, maybe they did help share some of those. We might have to eat the elephant one bite at a time. Also, the entire property on the market is not going to be a sound fiscal decision for the community. We cannot sit idle and watch these payments go from $200,000 to $400,000 for the next 7 years or $8. So we need to start marketing the property and looking for other alternatives.
Ms. Klein, what should the town do with the NC Aquarium Pier and Ocean Sound Access Park?
As a member of the realtor community, I have looked at this parcel and I've broken it up in pieces, and I think that these properties can be sold. We're fortunate that we paid a lower price for it than regular normal values, because the property was already dropping, the whole market was dropping at the point that we purchased the property. And I think that this property can be broke up in parcels and sold. And I think that we don't need to wait. I think we need to do it immediately and relieve the taxpayers of the burden. Thank you.
All right, the next question comes from Ms. Freedy. Tourism is our #1 industry. Do you agree or disagree, and why, with the current appropriations of Tourism Development Authority, the TDA funds, heads on beds, which goes to lifeguards, fireworks, movies, music, and events? You want that question again? There was a lot in there. Tourism is the #1 industry. Do you agree or disagree, and why, with the current appropriations of Tourism Development Authority funds, TDA funds, heads on bids, lifeguards, fireworks, movies, music, and events?
I do think that taxing the tourists somewhat for the privilege of coming here is appropriate, because those programs that you named, fireworks, lifeguards, movies, music, events, obviously the residents take advantage of those too, and that's a fantastic part of living here. It's one of the great parts of the summer when the fireworks start on Thursday nights and the movies are at the lake. I do think that I think it's fine to tax the tourists for that, because they're the ones that we're helping to attract by doing that. I don't think that we would have the fireworks just for us. I don't think we'd have the movies at the lake just for us. We obviously need lifeguards. If you have unmanned beaches, you end up with drownings, and that's certainly a horrible thing for the families, and that's a horrible, horrible reputation for a town to get. So I think the appropriation for lifeguards, I wish it could be higher. I know there were a couple years ago there were no lifeguards down at the state park at Fort Fisher, and that's dangerous. That becomes a dangerous place for people to take families. So certainly that would be the primary place. If there was any funding to be given or reallocated, I would say more funding for lifeguards, and not continued funding for the other events as well, but lifeguards is the most important.
Mr. Shuttleworth, agree or disagree with the appropriations of the TDA funds, heads on beds? Again, lifeguards, fireworks, movies, music, events.
I agree with the fundings that you listed. However, I believe with the further research you'll find that our room occupancy tax, TDA if you would, has been used for a lot of other things, which is those events. That does not take all of our money to do the lifeguards, movies, fireworks, music, and other events. We're spending money elsewhere that we don't need to. What we need to do is focus that money on beach renourishment and dredging. Without our access to the water, we will lose our tourist attraction. Our #1 attraction is the beach. And if we don't have the beach, we can't get to the ocean through the inlet, that's going to be a problem. So I would say we need to focus more on where the rest of the room occupancy tax is going. And those items are great. Those help the tourism. The other thing we can do is advocate more strongly and heavily with New Hanover County to get our fair share. Carolina Beach hasn't always received its fair share. New Hanover County seems to dictate a little bit more. We have done tremendous work and made incredible strides over the last several years on the Tourism Authority, and the presentation that they've made. We're now down at the convention center, the big
Ms. Kleins, where do you stand on the appropriation of the TDA funds ends on bids, lifeguards, fireworks, movies, music, events?
All those events are nice, but I would like to see this fund somehow appropriated toward more beach renourishment, keeping our inlets open. I think this is a huge fund. I'm in the tourism industry, so I know how far that sales tax goes. It's a big pot, and a lot of people pull out of that pot, and I don't necessarily know that what's coming out of that pot is being used for what it should be used for. So I would really need to gather more information on that. Thank you.
Mr. Deach,
Yes.
TDA funds,
I agree with Steve and Teresa wholeheartedly. I believe by putting the burden on all these programs that you've mentioned, certainly keeps taxes lower for the residents of Carolina Beach. I do agree that the ROT, or the room occupancy tax money, needs to be divvied out a little different. When it was originally set up, a major portion of that was not funded towards the beach renourishment programs that are going on. And at that time, we had a contract with the federal government to supply that beach renourishment. And we're slowly but surely seeing that go away. So I think we need to go back to the state legislature and either have the ROT increase, or at least the portion of it that comes to the beach renourishment or to the Fourth Florida Beach Commission, which indirectly goes towards that, should be favored in the beach renourishment area.
okay. Next question comes to Mrs. Shuttleworth first. What is your position on the widening and improvement of Dow Road? Do you think this will adversely affect Carolina Beach's business district?
Well, Dow Road is a DOT project. And the DOT has moved us up and down the priority list for a number of years. Currently, they're trying to move us completely off the list. I don't know that widening Dow Road would negatively impact the downtown business district. It may alleviate some congestion and some traffic. My goal and vision for the Dow Road would be to start by going to DOT and advocating with the MPO to install a separated detached bike lane to extend from the state park all the way down, hopefully to our neighbors to the south, so we can connect all of Pleasure Island. I think that would be an immediate benefit. I do not see Dow Road getting widening in the next several years through DOT. I have experience negotiating directly with Alan Pope and the other gentlemen at DOT on permits I've acquired. I also know the folks, Josh Menlo and others that serve on the MPO and negotiating directly with them. So I have the ability to sit down and talk to them about that process, but right now, New Hanover County and other people that serve on MPO have been able to negotiate our position down on the DOT priority list. So regardless of how I feel about it, it's really up to DOT. And I would advocate more strongly for a bike trail to start.
Ms. Kleins, your position on the widening improvement of Dow Road, and do you think it will adversely affect the business district?
Of course it will. Anytime you take traffic out of the center of town and divert it on an unpopulated street, you're going to remove people from your center of town. I've lived here over 30 years and I've never seen Dow Road congested like we had this year. So I think if we take Lake Park, put Lake Park back to 4 lanes, so we can get the people through town, Dow Road should go back to being what it has been for the last 30 some or greater years. Thank you.
Deach, Dow Road.
I agree with Teresa. Having served on the Wilmington MPO for 5.5 years, this project was brought up even back when I was on the Wilmington, or on the Transportation Advisory Committee. And because of Lake Park Boulevard, the project going on there, it always kind of took a back seat. And I agree with Teresa, if we fix the problem we have on Lake Park Boulevard, then we greatly reduce the congestion on Dow Road. So my thought would be to fix Lake Park Boulevard first, and then let's see what we have on that road.
Very well. Ms. Freeman, do you support the Dow Road widening or the presentation?
I do not support widening Dow Road. I think it's, I agree with all of my fellow candidates for different reasons. We do need a bike trail in town. I think widening Dow Road and bringing more traffic onto it would decrease the odds of being able to have a separate and safe bike path that people would actually enjoy using, because I don't think we would want to use a bike path that's next to what's perceived as felt to be a highway. It becomes very dangerous. So even if it were separate, it might lose some of the recreational or relaxational aspect of it. And I agree with Teresa and Gary because I do think that returning Lake Park Boulevard to 4 lanes will significantly reduce the congestion there. Down Road, we all know, has traditionally been the out for the residents if we don't need to drive through town for anything. We know that we can take Down Road. We don't need to go, we're leaving the island altogether if we're on Down Road. So for the most part, I think the traffic on Down Road is local. I don't think that we're avoiding the CBD by taking Down Road when we need something in the CBD. If I need to go to Rick's Donuts and get a donut, I'm driving down Lake Park, and I don't really care how bad the congestion is. If I don't need to hit the CBD, I'm going to be on Down Road. So I don't think that we'll be denying our CBD anything by, even if we did widen Down Road, I don't think that it would negatively impact the CBD.
Okay. Next question comes first to Ms. Klotz. What are your thoughts on Carolina Beach's budget? What areas would you cut and which areas would you increase?
I spent quite a bit of time looking at the budget, trying to figure out what pot we were pulling from to pay what pot. I guess if I were going to cut anything in the budget, I don't know. I would really have to give some more thought to that. There's a lot of fat I would cut in there. You know, I don't want to say that necessarily we have too many employees in town hall because I don't want anybody to think I'm going to get elected and you're going to lose your job. But I think there are some departments that probably could be combined. I wonder, and I've asked myself this often, when we went through the building boom, did we have any more employees in our planning department than we currently have now? I mean, are we, I don't know. That's a lot of different question. I really don't have an answer.
Other
Sorry.
questions? Mr. Deach, your thoughts on Carolina Beach's budget? What would you cut? What would you increase?
Well, when we came on the council in '95, we were faced with a great budget shortfall, and the first thing we did is we went to each department and got rid of anything that was a non-essential piece of equipment, project, or anything else. And I think that's probably where I would start today. I would get back through each department and do that. Secondly, I would look at the head count, but I would only address that through attrition. And when somebody retired, we may not rehire that position back and spread that job amongst other people. Those are two things that I certainly think we should at least start with. And then beyond that, I think continue to work in that direction. In my opinion, raising taxes would be a last resort to make sure that the budget is met.
Ms. Freedy, your thoughts on the budget? What would you cut? What would you raise?
I think the first thing to do would be to go to each individual department and ask the department heads where they see their budget could be cut without cutting employees unless absolutely necessary. It doesn't do the town any good to increase unemployment around here, either whether they're Carolina Beach residents or not. I think department heads usually know when there's some fat, and I know that in any company, employees know where there is fat. All it takes is to walk through a company of a few people and you see them printing off unnecessary pages and saying, well, that was a complete waste of paper. Or, why can't we do this? I think employees are actually the best place to start because they see themselves where money is being wasted. And I also think that if you have employee and department head participation in that decision making, it makes it easier when cuts need to be made. So I think every department probably could find a little more fat that could be trimmed off, and the employees could talk to their department heads. I think that would be a great place to start. Increase, we need to look at increasing the money we spend on infrastructure, the money we set aside. We need to start setting some money aside for beach renourishment and dredging. Because as the rest of the council candidates have been discussing, the federal monies are drying up. The grant monies are drying up. We have to keep our beaches with sand on them, and we have to keep our inlets and waterways navigable, because if we do not, we as a town will start to die. And if that money isn't going to come from the federal government, it's going to have to come from us. We're going to have to find a way to make it work. That is not going to be an option for us. We cannot let those needs go unmet. So that has to be increased, and then there will have to be some belt tightening in some other departments.
Mr. Sherman?
Well, we could cut by quit buying properties we don't need. We can sell the properties that we bought that we don't need, that we can't afford. We could probably turn around and sell 1710 North Carolina Beach Avenue. We probably don't need to purchase or build a gazebo out there for the handicap to the beach, since most of every beach access point is already handicap accessible. Staff, because I haven't gone to budget meetings, I do know that we have cut staff, mostly through attrition over the last few years, and it's always easy to say, hey, let's trim the fat of staff. We're pretty tight. I will tell you that last week at council, they announced that they had a volunteer in the police department. She's volunteered her time for the last number of months, and they finally moved her to a half-time position. Because that's the dedication of our citizens in the we volunteer her time, and they've now hired her part-time. Where we can make strides are things like Councilman Lewis and Mr. Lashley have been working on bringing parking in-house. They've done a study they presented last week at council to show that we could save maybe $100,000 a year, maybe as little as $50,000 a year, but potentially there could be some savings realized by going back to having parking in-house. That's a viable option. We also saw our council 14 months ago raise our water fee, but they forgot to enact it. And 2 weeks ago, they came out and said, well, we're really not short, so we're not sure what we're going to do. But lo and behold, last week in the meeting, they said, well, we are short, so we need to go ahead and do the council action and increase your water bill. I'm not sure we really need to. I think we might have an audit of the water and find out really, is the town using water? Do we have to count meters on all the town properties? Where are we losing water? What can we do to tighten that revenue? We have a capital replacement plan for water and sewer. To the credit of not only this council, but the past several councils, they have put a plan together. Sometimes they haven't followed it as closely as they have, but we're finally seeing the infrastructure being in place at Wilmington Beach. A suggestion might be to more rapidly pay down those low interest rate, those loans that are not at low interest rates, and go back to the farm and get a lower interest rate loan longer term, while interest is down for the town. Those are some of the things we can do. I'm just looking here real quick notes. The increases we're going to experience, whether we like it or not, is going to be in the dredging of the inlet. This year was $400,000. It came upon us all of a sudden. The boat captains from the harbor got together with a variety of other people, and they were able, including some of our county council people, and were able to come up with dollars to do the dredge. That's going to take us through next year. After that, we're going to be looking at having $400,000 a year, roughly, which is coincidentally the same amount pier property costs us. So I think if we ever that property, we might have wanted to dredge, but that's just my thought.
This goes first to Mr. Beach. The citizens of Carolina Beach want to know that those in charge of establishing and enforcing town laws and regulations are law-abiding citizens themselves. The question is, do you have a police record in any jurisdiction for anything other than traffic offenses that would show up in a background check on you? If so, please provide the details, and please be specific enough not to elude the question or mislead voters.
I am a criminal. I was given a ticket for duck hunting without a state duck stamp 6 years ago. No, three and a half, 4 years ago, I guess. So I'll have to admit to you, that's the biggest and the only thing that I've got going against me. And by the way, after reading the law on it, the game warden gave me the ticket unfairly. I did not need, with the license I had, I did not need a state duck stamp. So, just want to let you know that.
Ms. Freed, do you have a police record in any jurisdiction for anything other than traffic offenses that will show up in a background check on you?
No, sir, I do not believe that I have, and I'm pretty sure that if I did have any kind of police record, I would probably be in some sort of trouble with the state bar. So we lose our licenses if we commit any anything besides traffic offenses. We also don't tend to get malpractice insurance. So I'm pretty sure that I'm squeaky clean.
Mr. Shuttleworth, do you have a police record in any jurisdiction for anything other than traffic offenses?
Yes, I was arrested in college for being drunk and disorderly. That was in 1981. And I believe somewhere back close to that, it would be a traffic ticket, but I believe I had a driving while under the influence. Other than that, I have no criminal background.
Ms. Klotz, do you have a police record in any jurisdiction for anything other than traffic offenses?
Other than traffic offenses, no. However, back in the mid-80s, I would say it was a great fishing trip that day, but I had too many beers, and I also had a driving under the influence. Thank you.
Okay, the next question goes first to Mr. Shuttleworth. What sets you apart from your opponents? What initiatives would you bring to the table as a member of town council?
I believe my experience in putting together large transaction budgets and understanding how to do those is one of the things that sets me apart. I believe my sense of humor probably sets me apart. They're not, I mean, they are humorous, but my initiatives would be to work with the NPO and advocate better response with, or better revenue sharing with New Hanover County on our room occupancy tax, working with the regulatory agencies that are going to be working on the permitting for the dredge and beach renourishment, and enacting some of the master plan on the long term, going back and reviewing with the citizens of Carolina Beach why we put a master plan together, what it means, and how it works. That's my background.
Ms. Klotz, what sets you apart from your opponents? What initiatives would you bring to the table?
I think probably what sets me apart from my opponents is my love of the area. I've been here for 30 years and I have roots in this community. I'm not going anywhere. Those of you who know me know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm a business owner, and having the business knowledge in the community, I would hope to be able to bring other businesses to the community. Thank you.
Mr. Deach, what sets you apart? What initiatives would you bring?
I've lived on the island since 1952. Never lived off the island. Served on the council for 8 years. Served on the Wilmington MBO Transportation Advisory Committee for 5.5 years. Served on the Port Royal Beach Commission for 1.5 years and the Beach Communities Group for 4 years. And I think bringing that level of experience to the office again, something that would give me an advantage probably over the rest of these fine folks sitting here tonight. I'm a fairly quick study if there's things that have happened since 2005, but I think the experience of working with other governmental groups and agencies gives me an advantage there also.
Ms. Freeman, what sets you apart? What initiatives would you bring?
I think the thing that sets me apart the most would be the fact that I have specific training in how to solve problems that have been brewing and bubbling for months or years before they come to me. Because let's face it, people don't come to see attorneys when life is peachy keen. They come to see attorneys when the water is just kind of at the top of their heads or over the top of their heads. And it's not pleasant and it's not fun. And sometimes there are no great solutions, but people come see attorneys when they really need help. And it's usually about something that's very serious and it has caused them to lose a lot of sleep and endure a lot of personal stress. And they lay it on the table, and then it's the attorney's job to pick it up and peel apart the layers and figure out what went wrong, sometimes figuring out who's to blame. I'm not a litigator, so I don't do that. I'm a transactional attorney. I try to figure out how we're going to put it back together and move forward and get it done so that the client gets what they want in the end, or some reasonable facsimile of what they want. That's what law school is all about, and that's what my 15 years since law school have been about. People bring me a problem, how do I fix it, how do we move forward, how do I get it done? I spent 10 years working for the title insurance industry, and my clients were actually attorneys. And they would come to me to be their problem solver. That's why I had a job, was to help them figure out how to get the deal done for their clients, how their clients could buy or sell the properties that they needed to buy or sell. So that is my special skill, I think, that's been honed. It doesn't matter necessarily who's to blame. Let's figure it out. Let's deal with it as it is on the table. You know, look at it from every possible perspective. Plan for worst case scenario, hope for best case scenario, but plan for the worst, and then figure out what the best possible option is out of all the options facing us at that time. What I can bring to the table is the ability to find creative solutions to problems that maybe have been brewing for months or for years before they come, bring a fresh perspective and just a new point of view, how we're going to look at it in a different manner. Maybe it's not as horrible as we think.
Okay, this next question comes from a member of the audience. It's been slightly rewritten by my friends at the chamber, and it concerns real estate people and lawyers. Some hot topics.
Gary, you sit this one out.
Some hot topics seem to focus on real estate and legal fees. Some citizens may feel these items to be attributed to those trades. Given this perception by some, why should we trust what we have already had that has failed us? And we'll start with Ms. Potts.
As a realtor of this community for over 20 years, I am bound to follow a code of ethics. Now, you get one bad apple in the bunch and everybody gets a bad reputation for it. But the realtors I've been honored to work with have been honest, trustworthy, and will go out of their way to do everything they can for you to help you get the job done. So I don't know what realtors you guys know, but the ones I know are all top notch. Thank you.
Mr. Deach, problems attributed to realtors, brokers, or lawyers. Why should we trust what has already failed us?
Well, I think I have to agree with Teresa on that. I have quite a few friends who are realtors, and I trust them with my wallet any day of the week. And I also have some friends who are lawyers, and talk frequently with them, and I feel the same way about those folks also. So, not being in either one of those two camps, I don't have a problem serving with people who are in the real estate business or in the legal end of things. Again, I think it is based on the person itself and not their way they make money, I guess.
Great, too.
Ms. Freedman, problems attributed to realtors, brokers, and lawyers. Why should we trust what has already failed us?
I agree with Gary, and I certainly will say that on behalf of the legal profession, I appreciate that perspective, that it should be based on the individuals and not based on the profession. There are some bad apples. When I graduated from law school, my dad gave me a book called Dead Lawyers and Other Happy Thoughts. And that's really a shame that there are entire books that can be made out of lawyer jokes. And to a certain extent, obviously we have earned it. But I am one of the lawyers that became a lawyer not because I want to chase ambulances or become a joke. I believe that as a profession we are noble, and I believe that lawyers, for the most part, are good people. We are public servants. There are more lawyers who are elected officials, I think, than any others. And now that may be a bad thing when you start looking at whatever your perspective is about Congress. But lawyers do serve their communities, and they serve their communities well, for the most part. So I would ask you to not judge me on a lawyer joke or a bad experience that you've had with an attorney. Judge me, please, for who I am. Judge Teresa for who she is as a real estate professional. And that's really about the best that we can say, is that please don't judge me or judge Teresa or Steve as part of real estate on bad experiences that you've had with other people. Judge us as individuals who are trying to uphold the code of ethics of our own.
Mr. Shuttleworth, same question. Problems attributed to realtors, brokers, and lawyers. Why should we trust what has already failed us?
Fair question. I would like to separate a couple of things, and I'll do this answer in two parts. First, I've been a licensed real estate broker in the state of Colorado for 30 years. I've recently received my North Carolina real estate license. I've served as the president of the Pikes Peak Association of Realtors, which included having to give the ethics and orientation meeting for over 2 years. I was awarded the Realtor of the Year. I served on the Colorado Association Board of Directors at a state level. I attended the National Association of Realtors meetings and the ethics meetings. I think the issues that you're talking about are not realtor issues or attorney issues. They are ethics issues. They weren't, these questions, the attorney issue, first of all, I think we're paying too much. I told Mr. Coggins that to his face. I like Steve, he's a good attorney, he bills by the hour, the town gets what the town gets, because the town entered into that contract. You know, his approach to the CDP3 was what the town asked him to do to figure out a way to acquire that property. I don't know that it's a legal problem as much as it was a budget problem. The other questions, I don't know that there was any realtors involved that did anything, so I'm here to stand up for realtors. I'm a realtor. I think my ethics speak for themselves.
Okay, that was the last question. We're going to have closing comments, but before we do, I want to make a quick announcement. We're going to have the closing comments, then we'll have a short break and go on to the mayor's thing. But I've been asked to announce that the Lazy Pirate is also going to have a town council forum at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. The Lazy Pirate is over by Drifter's Reef. It's across from Subway. 7 p.m. tomorrow night, town council, and a mayoral forum also at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 25th. That's Tuesday next week. So more debating going on at the Lazy Pirate tomorrow night than next Tuesday. We're going to do the closing comments, and let's just be wild and crazy and start with Mr. Shuttleworth and work our way backwards across the table. Woohoo!
All right, that's my best Steve Martin. First of all, again, I'd like to say my name is Steve Shuttleworth. I'm asking for your vote tonight. I believe that the most important thing we need to look at is a sound fiscal policy that still helps move our community forward in a positive way, continuing the progress and protecting our fabulous community and our natural resources. I do possess the leadership, integrity, and experience to make the decisions needed to help this community. I am a voice of reason, and I think it's good in making solutions for everyone. I would ask that there's a sample ballots out there on the front. Even though alphabetically I'm listed at the bottom, I'd ask you to make your top choices. Thank you.
Ms. Freeman.
Thank you. I also would like to thank the audience tonight, as Steve did earlier, for taking time out of your evenings to come and hear what the candidates have to say. I think it is fantastic how personally engaged everyone in Carolina Beach is with the election. And I wonder whether any business is actually being done or has been done in the last few weeks while the campaign season is underway, because people are so involved in what's going on. I think that's fantastic. I think that makes for better democracy. I think it's wonderful that we take it personally, that our politicians, our elected leaders are known to us on a first name basis. They're not last names, they're not people up on pedestals, they're people we bump into literally at the grocery store. I am not a politician. This is my first foray. I don't always necessarily say the right thing. I'm not necessarily smooth and slick. I have learned something tonight from all of my fellow candidates. I think all of us have a real love of Carolina Beach. All of us have something unique that we could bring to council. You're going to have to decide for yourselves. It is a tough choice. I do believe that I also have the experience in the background necessary to make good choices on behalf of the people of Carolina Beach. I do want this to be a town that my children decide to come back to someday after they've gone off to college and seen the world. I want this to be a place that they would consider to be their homes, which means it needs to be vibrant, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be held together in whatever manner we need to do. We need to band together, forget who's to blame, stop pointing fingers, and live together like a family on this small island. And I would appreciate your vote on November 8th. I appreciate everyone's coming out tonight. If anybody has any questions for me, they can try to grab me after the forum. But otherwise, just thank you all for coming out tonight.
Mr. Beach.
Well, I think I bring the experience to the table to at least get in the top tier of this fine group of people. I think that during the years that I served on council, it wasn't just me, it was along with some very good people working for the town of Carolina Beach. We made great strides and moved this beach along a time where it hadn't moved along in quite a while. So If you're wanting experience and you're wanting sound policies based on engineering studies and not just how we feel about things, I would appreciate your vote. I will do my best to spend your money wisely and try hard not to raise taxes.
And Ms. Connors.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. This has been a real pleasure for us as well. I guess in closing, I would just like to say that if elected to council, or as Jerry Burkhart says, when elected to council, I'll do my best to serve this community with the pride and integrity that will take us into the future as a town that we can be proud of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to take about a 15-minute break.